Douluo World Sea. In the endless sea, there is a remote island. This small island is not too vast, about 10 kilometers in length and width. Various island plants grow in the central area of the island, and many coconut trees grow on the beach near the edge. At this time on the beach of this small island, a small figure collapsed face down on the beach, bare feet being washed away by the undulating sea from time to time. The whole person was like a stranded dead fish. Suddenly, this little figure moved his fingers, and then slowly sat up, with a pair of blue sea-like eyes open, and his hands pressed his head with a headache, and his face was confused and muttered to himself, "Who am I? Dai Yu Hao? Or Hemingway?" At this moment, there are two memories in his mind that are constantly intertwined and merged, not about taking homes or resurrecting the soul. It's the memory of awakening. The memory of the last life comes from a young man in his 20s, named Hemingway, from a water blue planet. It was a world of technology, without fancy magic, and no fighting spirit to multiply to its peak. Yes, it's just plain technology. The memory of this life comes from a 6-year-old child named Dai Yu Hao, who has a distinguished identity and an incomparably noble blood. Past and present, the two memories continue to merge. Finally, I'm Hemingway. His confused eyes gradually condensed. He was only 6 years old in appearance, but it was just this look. It makes people feel that this child is definitely not a thing in the pool. After all, memories from modern society dominate. In fact, this is normal. After all, let's not advance the age of Hemingway in his 20s. Compared with Dai Yu Hao, who is only 6 in this life, he has a richer life experience. Just talk about the information explosion in the world he lives in. The knowledge reserves and insights possessed are far from what the indigenous people of this world can compare. It is not surprising that the two strands of memory will eventually be dominated by Hemingway's thinking. Douluo continent. I actually came to this world. Hemingway couldn't help smiling after fusing the memories of his previous life, and this identity. I am Dai Muibai's 4-year-old brother Dai Yu Hao. There is Dai Yu Hao in the original work. Character. Of course, although his name is Dai Yu Hao, he is not the one known as Huo Hang in Douluo No. 2 Middle School. After all, there are still many tens of thousands of years before Douluo 2, but it just so happens that the name is the same. Hemingway's identity in this life is very special. He is the second son of the Emperor Star Luo Empire, and his elder brother Davis is 2 years older than him. There is also a younger brother Dai Muibai who was just 4 years younger than he was born. It was nothing like this, but the point was that his biological mother was not the original queen of Emperor Xingluo, but the princess sent by the Heaven Do Empire to make a confession. The Star Luo Empire and the Heaven Do Empire are feuds, and the two countries have fought for years. In recent years, the Star Luo Empire has the upper hand. However, after years of battle, the national strength of the two countries has been greatly depleted. If this continues, even if the Star Luo Empire can destroy the Heaven Do Empire, it will only get a ruin. The situation of the two countries does not allow any further fighting, but after so many years of fighting, there is no reason. How can it be said that the war should cease? So the Heaven Do Empire sent a princess to marry the emperor of the Star Luo Empire in the name of peace, and the two sides stopped fighting for the time being. Of course, this is only temporary. The war between the two countries is not something that a princess can stop by marrying. The so-called marriage is just a reason for the truce. After the two empires have recuperated, the war will eventually start again. In such a situation, Dai Yu Hao, who had gathered the blood of the two empires, became very embarrassed. With the blood of the Heaven Do Empire's royal family, he was of course not treated in the Xingluo Empire, even if it was the future battle for the throne. It's just that way, although I don't want to see it. But the blood of the Xingluo royal family is also flowing in his body. Why doesn't the tiger poison eat its seeds? Emperor Xingluo wasn't going to kill him yet. But all of this changed when he awakened his spirit at the age of 6 and even possessed twin spirits, and he was still full of spirit power. With these two aptitudes, ordinary people are already geniuses if they have the same. Combining the two in one, it is even more a genius among geniuses. If he is allowed to grow, his future will be limitless. If he was just a commoner, or an ordinary nobleman, it was nothing. But the key point is that he is both the second prince of Douluo and the son of Princess Tiandu. The better he is with such an embarrassing status, the more dangerous it is. There are countless people in the Douluo Empire who don't want him to have a better life. The ones who don't want him to have a better life are undoubtedly the Queen of Emperor Douluo and the family Zhu family behind her. After all, Dai Yuhao is also the son of Emperor Douluo. The better, the more likely it is to threaten her son's status in the future. Even according to tradition, Dai Yuhao would never succeed to the throne. But even if there is only a slight possibility, she will kill it in the cradle. Then, an assassination led by Queen Douluo began. The Emperor Douluo naturally knew this, but for the sake of the stability of the empire, after all, the queen and the Zhu family behind her, even if he was the emperor, would not be offended. Therefore, he can only pretend to be ignorant, stand by and watch the queen send a killer to chase down their mother and son. Fortunately, as early as when his son awakened the twin spirits, Dai Yuhao's mother knew that the danger was imminent. Hastened to summon a few die-hard entourages from the Heaven Do Empire who were in the Soul King and Soul Emperor stage, packed his things and took him to escape overnight. Goal: the sea. As long as you escape to the sea, you reading www.yuyukanshu.com will find an island to hide. It was absolutely impossible for the Douluo Empire to find their mother and son. After all, the sea was the land of the Sea Spirit Master. As a land spirit master, the power tentacles of the Douluo Empire cannot extend to the sea. Therefore, if you want to avoid hunting and killing, it is undoubtedly the safest to escape to the sea. But unfortunately, the mother and son were still caught up by the killer halfway through. A fierce battle between the two sides. Chasing and fleeing all the way, several entourage died and sacrificed. Finally, Dai Yuhao's mother sacrificed her life and died together with the enemy, in exchange for a way out for her son. Mother. Thinking of that gentle woman, Hemingway suddenly closed his eyes in pain, only to feel a puff of gas piling up on his chest, making him unable to breathe. He didn't seize a house or borrow a corpse to recover his soul, but was reincarnated and reborn as a baby, and he was carefully nurtured and cared for as Dai Yuhao. Although only 6 short years. But in these 6 years without awakening memory, he was nurtured and grown up as a normal child. This relationship is definitely not false. Even if the memory is awakened now, that feeling has not disappeared. Still rooted deep in my heart. Along with it is the monstrous hatred. From now on, there will be no Dai Yuhao in the world. The 60-year-old boy looked up at the sky and said to himself like an oath, only Hemingway. The flame of hatred is burning in my heart. Whether it is the Queen Douluo or the ruthless father, he will never let it go in the future. Therefore, he abandoned the name of this life and bid farewell to the past completely. From now on, the Douluo royal family is the enemy in his eyes. All need to be wiped out. The sun is shining brightly. The blazing sun shines on the beach, even if there is a salty sea breeze. He had been exposed here for a long time when he was in a coma, and Hemingway also felt too hot. So Hemingway, who had just woken up at this time, even though his body was still weak, he still managed to climb up to the beach, dragging 2 long traces on the beach, and finally sat down next to a coconut tree. This coconut tree can be shaded from the sun, but it is still out of the reach of the waves, and it is just a good place to rest. Hey! Feeling the shade of the tree, he breathed a long sigh of relief, and finally completely relaxed. It just feels dry and dry. It would be nice if there is water to drink at this time. Ding! At this time, accompanied by a pleasant ringing. The strongest king system is starting, A mechanized voice appeared in Hemingway's mind, and he was taken aback for a moment, and he didn't react for quite a while. This is the system. Hemingway hesitated for a while before finally reacting. Isn't this a very popular system in online novels? Real or fake? But since he can travel to the world in a novel, it seems that it is not unacceptable to have plugins. Start to generate property panel. At this time, a system panel appeared in front of him. The strongest king system name, Hemingway Repair Base, 10th level soul power, congenital full soul power. Wuhan, mermaid, without spirit ring attached. Wuhan, white tiger, without spirit ring attached. Main mission, become the only true king in the Douluo world. You, with the blood of the 2 imperial emperors, deserve to be the ruler of the world. Task reward, open the function of traveling through the world. Newbie gift pack, is it open? Simple panel, the attributes on it are simple and pitiful. But Hemingway looked at the display on the property panel, focusing on the newbie package at the end. There is no doubt that the contents of this gift package are definitely helpful to his current situation. So he couldn't wait to say, open the novice package. Ding! Open the newbie package. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a Wuhan upgrade card and a devil fruit. 1 gravity adjustment bracelet. Devil fruit. Hemingway was a little surprised to see this. Isn't this the Douluo world? How come things from One Piece will be included in the novice package? No. I'm in the ocean now, so for the current me, the devil fruit may be more suitable for my current situation. He thought about it and quickly became relieved. As for the gravity adjustment bracelet after the devil fruit, the literal meaning is easy to understand. What is the function of the Wuhan upgrade card? He asked. Ding! The spirit upgrade card can help the host upgrade the quality of the twin spirit, and there is a certain chance to gain the abilities of other world characters. Get the abilities of other people in the world. Hemingway was a little confused about this sentence, but he thought that the plugin would not harm him. He still took the lead in using the Wuhan upgrade card. Ding! Use Wuhan upgrade card. Next moment, Hemingway only felt that his tired and weak body was nourished by some kind of energy, and his whole body seemed to be soaked in warm water, and he quickly fell asleep when he was comfortable. The whole person is drowsy, half asleep and half awake, accepting a reborn transformation. I don't know how long has passed. When he woke up again, the moment he opened his eyes, he immediately realized that the whole world was different. The sky is so blue, and the sea is so gentle, the oncoming sea breeze seems to be able to wash the soul. Hemingway found that the lines of the surrounding things became more prominent, and the colors of the colors became extremely brilliant. He used to be like a short-sighted eye. Now he seems to be wearing glasses, and finally able to see the true appearance of the world. He stood up gently, only to feel that his tired body was full of strength, and his whole body was boundless in vitality. It seems that a cow can be beaten to death with one punch now. Wonderful! Fantastic! Hemingway quietly felt his own changes, and suddenly a violent sea breeze blew in, causing a strand of hair to drop on the corner of his forehead, which was as white as snow. This is. He grabbed this strand of white hair, and then stretched his head a few times, and finally found that his short hair had already reached waist length at this moment, and even the original golden hair was now pale as snow. Color my look! Hemingway hurriedly ran to the sea, through the blue sea and blue sky, observing his reflection in the water. That was a 6-year-old child with snow-like hair. His features were white and delicate, and his eyes were deep blue like the sea. His whole temperament was soft and beautiful. It's lovely, if you wear women's clothing. I'm afraid no one would doubt that she is a girl. Hemingway was shocked. Subconsciously stretched his right hand under his hips until he caught the little brother who had not disappeared, but was much older. Just breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was no cheating about change. The next step is to see what changes have taken place in Wuhan except for the changes in appearance. Mermaid Wuhan, now. Hemingway gave a low voice in his heart, and then took the lead in releasing the mermaid spirit inherited from his mother. Suddenly, a wave of horror spread from the small island he was on to the sea in all directions. Rumble! The sea was rolling, and countless sea soul beasts emerged from the sea, roaring to the sky. As if losing his mind, it rushed in the direction of the island crazily. Among them, there are many soul beasts that are more than 10,000 years old and 100,000 years old. At this moment, almost everyone in the sea was alarmed, especially those sea spirit masters, but Wuhan is sea-related creatures, whether it is sea snakes, turtles, fish, or even seabirds, as long as Wuhan is related to the sea. All creatures can't help but crawl on the ground under the suppression of this breath. It seems to be paying homage to the supreme real king. As the culprit responsible for all this, Hemingway was startled when he looked at the suddenly rolling sea in front of him. He keenly felt that all of this was absolutely related to his martial soul. Looking at the sea soul beasts that rushed towards him, it was a dead soul. Fortunately, soon, with the appearance of his mermaid spirit, the vague wave disappeared. All the crazy sea soul beasts calmed down, then looked around blankly, and dived into the water again to disperse. The noisy sea is calm again. But the impact of all the sea soul beast riots in the entire sea has not disappeared. Instead, it arouses thoughtful thinking. Why do all the sea soul beasts in the entire ocean riot? Could it be that any treasure was born? Or is it the sea god who appeared on a deserted island? Hemingway looked at the upgraded mermaid spirit before him, and he fell into silence. I saw that it was a huge figure, about tens of meters high, with the upper body resembling a human woman, and the lower body a huge pink fish tail. There is no doubt that this is a super huge mermaid. As for why the spirit of Hemingway inherited from his birth mother is a mermaid instead of a swan inherited from the Tiandu royal family, it was because although his mother was a princess of the Heaven Do Empire, she did not inherit the swan spirit inherited from the Heaven Do Empire imperial family, but inherited the spirit mermaid of the grandmother from the sea spirit master. So as the mother's son, of course his mermaid in this life is inherited from his mother. Originally, his mermaid spirit was just the size of an ordinary person, and it would never be as huge as it is now. But now it was obvious that it was because of the martial spirit upgrade card that made the martial spirit mutate into this appearance. Only. Hemingway frowned and looked at the huge mermaid in front of him, and saw that she had long flowing pink curly hair, tied into an ancient flying fairy bun. Wearing hair accessories in the shape of taiyaki on the head, earrings in the shape of shells on the earlobes, with blue eyes like the sea, and a beautiful appearance that can be called peerless. Further down is the super plump upper circumference, and the lower body is the dark and light pink fish tail. Mermaid Princess White Star. He spit out these words slowly. Mermaid Princess White Star is an important character in the anime One Piece. Is the princess of the mermaid clan, and even the legendary Poseidon. Possess the ability to command all the sea kings in the sea. And Hemingway's mermaid spirit after the upgrade looks like the mermaid Princess White Star. He finally knew what the system said: there was a certain chance of gaining the abilities of other world characters. After Wuhan became the appearance of the mermaid Princess White Star, the character's ability came to this world, from commanding sea kings to being able to command all creatures related to the sea. All the sea spirit beasts riots were just because of the special fluctuations that the Sea King Poseidon first appeared in the world when he initially summoned the spirit. Let all the sea soul beasts mistakenly think that the sea is coming. When martial soul is summoned in the future, this situation won't happen anymore. The martial arts upgrade card produced by the system is really powerful. He looked at the huge mermaid martial arts in front of him and admired again and again, even without mentioning the ability of the sea soul beast. Just by looking at his size, he knew that the current Wuhan was much stronger than the previous one. Tens of meters high, such a huge martial spirit can imagine how destructive it is. What did the other Wuhan look like? Hemingway thought, and when his mind moved, the huge mermaid spirit disappeared into a light. Instead, there is another huge figure. Roar! The fierce roar suddenly resounded through the surrounding sea. A huge white tiger with wings on its back is roaring up to the sky. The white tiger's fur is crystal clear and white, and the whole body is densely covered with black tiger stripes, and those eyes are red, revealing the inexplicable gloom. Ominous! The figure has become so big, and there are more wings. Hemingway looked at the majestic, murderous giant white tiger. I am extremely satisfied, because no matter how you look at it, the evolved white tigers are far stronger than the original ones. The most important thing is that there is an extra pair of wings, which is obviously able to fly. This is an incredible evolution for the king of the land like the tiger. By the way, look at the attributes. He slapped his forehead, and silently summoned the attribute panel in his heart. The strongest king system name, Hemingway Repair Base, 10th level, congenital full of soul power. Wuhan, Mermaid Princess, without spirit ring attached. Wuhan, Netherworld White Tiger, without spirit ring attached. Main mission, become the only true king in the Douluo world. You, with the blood of the 2 imperial emperors, deserve to be the ruler of the world. Task reward, open the function of traveling through the world. The mermaid spirit has become a mermaid princess, and the white tiger has become a ghost and white tiger. It is obviously stronger. Just don't know where it is strong. He muttered to himself while looking at the simple attributes on the panel. Inexplicably eager to try. Especially the mermaid spirit's ability to command the sea spirit beast made him wonder what he could do. Can you directly order the sea soul beast to sacrifice? Or, try? The waves are constantly beating on the beach, and the salty sea breeze is blowing over. It made him feel a little relaxed and happy, perhaps because of the mermaid spirit. The closer he is to the sea now, the more comfortable he feels. As if the sea is his home. Hemingway stepped on the beach with his bare feet, and walked forward until the sea water passed over his ankles before stopping. Gently closing his eyes, after the mermaid spirit evolved into an adult fish princess, it gave him a lot of abilities. Among them is the ability to sense the sea. As long as you touch the sea, you can perceive the situation in the sea within a certain range. He felt very strange at this time, as if he was standing in the perspective of God. Being able to see the situation in the sea at 360 degrees without dead ends, the scope is very wide. It covered the sea area with a radius of thousands of miles in an instant. Is simply terrifying. But this is normal, after all, his martial soul was originally the king of the sea. It is not a strange thing to be able to have such a terrifying sensitivity to the sea. Soon, within 1,000 miles of sea, Hemingway sensed the traces of many spirit beasts. According to the light of spirit power emanating from them, he found that these spirit beasts were mostly 10 years, 100 years, and thousands of years, and there were almost none in 10,000 years. But for him at this stage, 100-year-old spirit ring is also enough. And even if there is a 10,000-year soul beast, he may not be able to command it with his current strength. Just this soul beast. Hemingway took a fancy to a shark that has been around for 1,000 years, and immediately gave him an order to come over. Suddenly, the shark swam to the beach and ran aground here. Hemingway looked at this big shark who was full of resistance but had to obey. For the first time he felt the horror of his martial soul. This is simply to have absolute control over all marine creatures. She is the of the sea, right? Martial soul. Now. Accompanied by a low drink. Behind Hemingway, the huge mermaid princess martial arts spirit appeared. Then, I saw the martial spirit of the mermaid princess who was tens of meters high, raising a slender and large jade hand, and lightly patted it. Boom! Accompanied by a bang. The big shark stranded on the beach did not resist at all, and was patted into meatloaf by the huge slender hand. A purple 1,000-year spirit ring slowly rises. Mermaid Princess Wuhan is the king of the sea, all marine creatures must obey orders. But the body obeys, but the mind disobeys. Therefore, it is impossible to let the spirit beasts offer sacrifices voluntarily. Otherwise, Hemingway's first spirit ring won't take 1,000 years, and he will start off directly. Come! The soul power was attracted, and the purple soul ring flew over immediately. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com merged into the body of the martial spirit mermaid princess, and suddenly became the main body of Hemingway. Immediately I felt a power from the underworld pouring into my body, and under the nourishment of this power, my body was rapidly increasing. Hemingway didn't know that the first soul ring of a soul master was a yellow soul ring that was hundreds of years old, but since he used his soul upgrade card, he upgraded his soul. Although his spirit power has not improved, the increase in his physique by the two martial spirits is simply exaggerated. As we all know, the main reason for the spirit master to absorb the spirit ring is that the body and spirit can hold it. As long as you can hold it, even if it is the first spirit ring directly for 10,000 years, there is no problem at all. Because of this, Hemingway dared to directly absorb the 1,000-year spirit ring in the first spirit ring. And the facts proved that he was right. The process of absorbing the spirit ring was extremely smooth, and Hemingway felt that even if the spirit ring was 1 or 2,000 years taller, he could withstand it. From here, he preliminarily estimated that his current physique is equivalent to a spirit master of level 30 or 40. However, the main strength of the soul master is the strange soul skills, and the strength of the physique is second. So it's not that he can now match a spirit master of level 30 or 40. Come and see what spirit ability I have acquired. Hemingway closed his eyes and felt silently. Then naturally, he knew what kind of spirit ability he had acquired after fusing this spirit ring. It turned out to be this. He opened his eyes sharply, and then stretched out his right hand to give a low voice. Suddenly a layer of golden light emerged, covering and wrapping the entire arm, as if it turned into a golden right arm. There is no doubt that this is domineering from the world of One Piece. Domineering is a unique ability in One Piece world, which is divided into 3 types. See and hear the domineering color, the armed color domineering, and the unparalleled domineering color. After obtaining the first spirit ring, Hemingway immediately possessed 2 of the 3 domineering on the spot, namely armed domineering and seeing and hearing domineering. Now what he is displaying is armed and domineering. Once this armed color is displayed, the effect is simply to cover the body with a layer of armor, which is indestructible. It can also evolve into attack power and form various effects. The role of seeing and hearing color domineering is similar to radar, and the role of divine consciousness in cultivation novels, covering a certain range. Everything is fully visible in the induction, and it can also perceive the emotions of others. Individuals who have cultivated to the top are domineering, and can even listen to the voices of others, listen to the voice of all things, or foresee the future. As for the final domineering look, it is similar to the coercion of the strong, but more domineering. Once released, it can shock all beings. People can't afford to resist the slightest thought in their hearts. It is to clean up the miscellaneous soldiers and demonstrate the necessary ability of the king's spirit. That's why it's called the Overlord's domineering. But unfortunately, for unknown reasons, Hemingway didn't awaken the domineering look of the Overlord. Perhaps it was because he lacked the heroic spirit in his heart? Therefore, he only awakened the armed color and the sighted color, and he didn't know if he would have the opportunity to awaken the domineering color in the future. Now that he has initially obtained the first spirit ring, Hemingway has directly awakened 2 kinds of domineering. It can be said that these 2 kinds of domineering are his soul abilities. Of course there are gains and losses. The martial spirit of the mermaid princess has advantages and naturally has disadvantages. That is, the additional spirit ring cannot obtain the spirit abilities of all kinds of strange things, which means that no matter what spirit ring he acquires in the future, the martial soul of the mermaid princess will no longer have other spirit abilities. At most it will only make these 2 colors domineering, enhancing on the original basis. Therefore, the function of the spirit ring, in addition to enabling him to upgrade, increase his physical spirit, and increase the power of domineering, it can no longer bring him any spirit abilities. These are things that Hemingway will know after careful sensing. For this, although he was a little disappointed. After all, those strange and brilliant spirit abilities are still very tempting. But being a man shouldn't be too greedy. From his point of view, it is just armed and domineering, and if he uses it well, it will be enough for him to stand on the side of this Douluo world. What's more, he has another white tiger spirit. And besides being domineering, One Piece world has many enemy moves, and he should be able to imitate them. For example, the very famous Navy 6 poses, with his current physique, as long as he practice more, he will soon be able to use it freely. In short, there is absolutely no shortage of attack methods. Then in the next period of time, I will temporarily adapt to the changes in martial arts on this small island. I will practice Navy 6 styles by the way, and when I have a little self-preservation power, and even have a certain amount of capital on the sea, I will start working on the big island. Recruiting manpower from the sea, forming your own forces. Hemingway pondered silently, feeling that before he became the only true king of the Douluo continent. Let's just start by becoming the king of the sea. I am the man who wants to be the sea king. The strongest king system name, Hemingway Repair Base, 15 Soul Master Wuhan, Mermaid Princess, Purple, Wuhan, Netherworld White Tiger, without spirit ring attached, main mission, become the only true king in the Douluo world. You, with the blood of the 2 imperial emperors, deserve to be the ruler of the world. Task reward, open the function of traveling through the world. 15th level, that's not bad. Hemingway nodded looking at his own level. It was very good that he could absorb a 1000-year spirit ring and jump to level 5. Next is another reward. Hemingway said silently in his heart, System, receive the devil fruit. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the devil fruit from One Piece World Superman Devil Fruit, Flesh Ball Fruit. Along with the system prompts, a fruit appeared out of thin air and fell gently. Hemingway subconsciously reached out and took it, staring at the weird-looking fruit in front of him. Recall the information about this fruit in the original work. Superman Devil Fruit Flesh Ball Fruit. This devil fruit has appeared in One Piece. After taking it, it can grow a cat's paw-like pad in the palm of the palm, so that it can bounce off anything, solids, liquids, gases, injuries, heat, slashing, chopping waves, shockwave and so on. Even the concept of nothingness like fatigue and pain can bounce off. It is definitely a very powerful ability to develop to the end. However, the devil fruit is good. But this fear of sea water and the shortcomings of sea tower stones. Hemingway frowned. He was now on the sea. In addition, the spirit of martial arts can order the sea soul beast, and it will have to deal with the sea in the future. How can you leave yourself with such serious shortcomings? Ding! Reminder, this fruit has no side effects and is an improved version of the system optimization. After taking it, you are not afraid of the side effects of sea water, so please feel free to use it. The prompt sound of system mechanization is like the sound of nature in Hemingway's ears at this time. At this time, Hemingway began to carefully observe the devil fruit in his hand, and found that the improved and optimized devil fruit was different, with unique texture, and it seemed to emit light up and down. It even exudes an attractive fruity fragrance improved. Really? This golden finger is too sweet, right? Hemingway hesitated after looking at the system prompts, and finally took a bite of the fragrant devil fruit. He is in this world now, who else can he trust if he doesn't believe the system? After bit down, Hemingway discovered that the fruit was not only afraid that the flaws of the seawater were gone, but even the smell of in the original book had changed to an ordinary fruity taste, which tasted a bit like watermelon. At the moment, he ate the devil fruit into his stomach in 2 bites. A strange feeling, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com pervades the whole body. Hemingway closed his eyes involuntarily, and silently felt the invigorating sensation of the soul ascending to heaven. After a while, he opened his eyes again and looked at his unchanged hands. With a thought, the palms of both palms suddenly bulged, and then something like a cat's mat changed. The fruit of the flesh ball. Although this fruit is a superhuman type, the ability itself is not simple at all. In other words, the devil fruit itself is not simple. It can be developed to the highest level, and maybe it can really bounce everything. He looked at himself's palms, could not help muttering to himself. The ability of this fruit in the original book can bounce off all conceptual things like fatigue and pain. How could this ability be simple? Since the two concepts of fatigue and pain can be bounced away, can you bounce off the other concepts? If the concept of aging can be flipped away, can people stay young forever and live forever? If the concept of death can be bounced off, will people be able to come back from the dead? If the concept of being alive is bounced off, will that person lose his life? If the 7 emotions and 6 desires can be bounced away, does the person who loses the 7 emotions and 6 desires become a doll without desire? If one can bounce off the love of one person for another, and then transplant this love to another person, will this person fall in love with the other person? In this world of spirit masters where everyone has a spirit, can someone else's spirit be ejected and transplanted onto someone else? Create twin martial souls, 3 martial souls, and n-born martial souls? Hemingway thought about it carefully, and found that if the improved version of this system's meatball fruit ability can really achieve this point, then it is simply invincible. The 6 Navy styles refer to the 6 moves of shaving, iron block, paper painting, moon step, arranging feet, and finger gun. It is a physical skill in the anime One Piece, a physical skill that surpasses the limit of human physical ability. It is extremely powerful, and even those with the devil fruit ability will have the power to fight if they all learn it. If you want to use the 6 Navy style, there is no doubt that you must have a strong physique first. After experiencing the upgrade of martial soul, Hemingway's physique has long been strengthened to be very terrible. In terms of physique, regardless of soul skills, his physique now is at least 30 souls. Because of this, he was able to absorb the 1000-year spirit ring with the first spirit ring. Originally, he thought it would be very easy for him to learn the 6 Navy poses based on his current physical strength. Soon, reality slapped his face fiercely. After practicing in practice, he realized that he could not perform the 6 Navy pose at all, because his soul sovereign level physique was still not up to standard. It did not reach the minimum standard to be able to perform the 6 Navy styles. How to do it? What else can I do? Exercise. Work hard to strengthen your physique. Happened to be the last of the 3 things that the novice gift packs had issued, which was very helpful to his current situation. That is the gravity adjustment bracelet. This bracelet is simply an artifact for exercising. Hemingway looked at the silver bracelet on his arm and couldn't help muttering to himself. This silver metal bracelet looks like an ordinary silver bracelet. The whole body is covered with strange curse lines, and it can also automatically adjust the size. After Hemingway put it on his hand, the bracelet that was originally suitable for adults was instantly reduced to a suitable size. While wearing this bracelet at the same time, a message naturally appeared in his mind, letting him know the purpose and usage of this bracelet. Gravity adjustment bracelet can adjust the planet's gravity borne by itself, and adjust the gravity without upper limit. How terrible! The change of gravity of this bracelet is not as simple as an ordinary load. Ordinary weight-bearing exercises are only for a certain part of the body, and there must be some places that the body cannot exercise with weight-bearing. But this gravity bracelet is terrible. Gravity bracelet is to forcibly change the gravity of the planet it bears, which is equivalent to giving the body no dead spots in all directions, and every cell adds weight. The usual weight-bearing exercise is at most musculoskeletal exercise. How can this be done? Then try using double gravity first. Hemingway stroked the metal gravity bracelet on his right hand, tentatively instructing it to double gravity. Suddenly, the gravity bracelet that received the instruction faithfully performed its duties. Quietly. Hey! Hemingway exhaled abruptly, his waist bends slightly, and his whole body is sweating. I started to gasp hard. I only felt that my whole body was being squeezed by something, an indescribable feeling of heaviness covered my whole body. Fruit, it's really scary. He tried his best to support his body, but he felt that even standing at this moment was a great torture. Even breathing is very hard. Adjusting gravity is different from ordinary weight-bearing exercise. Weight-bearing is only a kind of pressure from the outside, and at most it can only exercise muscles and bones. But gravity covers all parts of the body, including internal organs, and some tiny muscles, all within the envelope of gravity. One can imagine how terrifying the burden on the body is. Hey! Under double gravity, Hemingway gasped hard. I just feel that I just stand in place like this, keeping my body from falling. It's already a very scary exercise. After a while, finally adapted to the pressure of gravity, Hemingway started to move forward, step by step. Just a few times after he left, he stopped, panting quickly. After a period of rest, stepped forward again. Stop and go. During this period, he did not use his spirit power to increase his body, because it was exercising instead of fighting. The use of soul power is a tricky behavior, not good for exercise. It took a day, and Hemingway barely walked around the entire island. When the task is completed, Hemingway, who felt that his entire body had reached its limit, moved his mind to relieve his gravity. Suddenly, a feeling of ecstasy strikes. Without the suppression of gravity, at this time he only felt that the whole person seemed to be flying, and his whole body was light and fluttering, as if as long as a gust of wind came, the whole person could be carried by the breeze to the sky. Of course he knew that this was just an illusion, his body adapted to double the gravity, so he suddenly reduced the double gravity, which caused some kind of illusion. Hemingway hurriedly sat down in a meditation pose. Silently rotate the soul power in the body, allowing the soul power to circulate throughout the body, soothing muscles and muscles. As we all know, the body secretes a large amount of lactic acid after exercise, which can cause discomfort such as soreness in the body. If he doesn't use his spirit power to guide him in time to stretch his vitality and blood, he will definitely feel pain when he gets up tomorrow morning and he won't be able to move. Hey! After a period of time, Hemingway, who meditated to guide the circulation of soul power, let out a sigh, and then opened his sea blue eyes, feeling that the fatigue of his body was slightly reduced. At the same time, a panic of hunger hits wildly. Hemingway rubbed his stomach, knowing he should go to supplement his nutrition. He stood up with all his might, walking on both legs a little bit, wandering towards the woods in the middle of the island. There are food and shelter he has prepared long ago. A few big trees grew closer, and Hemingway used branches and canes to build a simple log cabin. On the tree next to this wooden house, there are still some dried and smoked fish hanging from it. An open space was cleared in front of the hut, with traces of the bonfire remaining on it. Hemingway came here slowly, took off a piece of fish, and ate it directly. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com. The fish is simply smoked, and the taste is decent. On this desert island, it is already a rare delicacy. After eating a piece of fish, Hemingway took a few more pieces and gnawed it. Finally filled his 5 internal organs temple. After filling his stomach, Hemingway sat down on a simple homemade stool and exhaled a long breath. Feeling the exhaustion all over the body at this moment, I couldn't help but let out a wry smile. Shaking his head and muttering to himself, the effect of gravity exercise is good, but with my current physical state, I can't exercise for a long time. I must wait until my body recovers to a certain level before I can continue to exercise. Otherwise, it will hurt my body. The so-called exercise is not just to keep exercising every day. I am afraid that everything is too late. Exercise is actually a process of destroying the body and then recovering. Between continuous destruction and repair, the body will become stronger and stronger. But if you overexercise, your body will be destroyed before it recovers, so over time, the body will be left with serious dark injuries, and the most important thing for exercise is to have a degree of relaxation. You have to give your body time to recover. It is impossible to exercise endlessly. To do that is purely looking for death. If you exercise indiscriminately like this, your whole body will be abolished. In addition, you also need to ensure adequate nutrition during exercise. As the old saying goes, poor literature and rich military. After exercise, the body needs to consume a lot of nutrients for self-repair. It is impossible for you to build up your muscles by eating steamed buns and pickles every day. If you don't have enough nutrition, no matter how you exercise, your achievements will always be limited. On the contrary, it will cause the body to overconsume the nutrients in the body and cause major problems for itself. According to my current situation, even with the spirit power to unblock the muscles, bones and muscles, it will take at least 3 days for the body to recover from the damage from the previous exercise. Hemingway carefully felt the state of his body and couldn't help frowning and muttering to himself, "Damn it! If I don't live here, I don't need to worry about physical recovery at all." If Hemingway is still the pampered second prince of the Douluo Empire at this time, then he can call some healing spirit masters at any time to heal the damage caused by his physical exercise. Or maybe let the imperial medical practitioner boil some precious medicinal materials into a pot of medicinal bath. Soaking in it can not only get rid of fatigue, it can also strengthen the body and enhance the potential of the body. There is no need to wait for the body to recover itself like this. If 3 days are wasted for nothing, it is extremely easy for the body to leave dark injuries during long-term exercise. And for him at this moment, time is the most precious thing. If he has to recuperate for a period of time after every exercise, how much time is wasted? Continue like this. When will he become stronger? Have the power to revenge? What should I do? Is there any way I can recover quickly? Hemingway frowned and thought, he always felt that there was a way. I just ignored it subconsciously. What is it? He condensed his eyebrows in contemplation, constantly searching for the memories in his mind. Suddenly, a flash of light flashed. Yes. Meatball fruit. Hemingway finally reacted. The meatball fruit presented by the novice gift pack is very helpful to his current situation, isn't it? In the original work, the person with the ability of the fleshy ball can use the ability to release the concept of fatigue and pain in the human body. Isn't it right for your current situation? The only question now is, can he, who has only eaten the devil fruit for the first time, be able to bring out the concept of fatigue and pain? With this doubt, Hemingway stretched out a palm and silently began to operate the ability of the fruit ball. I saw his right hand bulge slowly, and then something like a cat's mat was formed. Not only is it not terrible, it is also a little cute, and when Hemingway started to really use the power of the flesh ball fruit, he instantly felt the whole world completely changed in his own eyes. It's hard to describe what it feels like. He just felt the whole world in his own eyes, as if it had become a cloud of gas of different colors. These gases are colorful, intertwined, mixed, fused, constitute this colorful world. Too esoteric. Too complicated. Hemingway just glanced lightly, and felt dizzy, unable to understand what the colors represent. He knew that those colors were not what he could understand at this time. Perhaps these colors are just a form of realization of the concept in your own imagination, right? Hemingway retracted his gaze, looked down at his body, and found that he was also made up of countless colorful gases. That seemed to be a variety of concepts. Countless concepts constitute him now. But with so many concepts, where is the concept of fatigue? Just when this doubt emerged, Hemingway felt that a mysterious insight came to his heart. This peculiar perception led him, his eyes focused on a certain light red gas in his body. Intuition told him that this gas is the concept of fatigue in his body at this moment. slowly stretched out the palm with the meat cushion, and gently pressed it on the chest. There was a sound like a bubble breaking. The wisp of light red gas was flicked by his palm, and it was instantly ejected from his body. When the concept representing fatigue was separated from the body, Hemingway only felt an indescribable sense of ease rushing to his heart, as if he had lifted a heavy burden. All the discomforts disappeared completely, followed by the exhaustion gas, and separated from his body. A fist-sized bubble hovered in Hemingway's palm. It was filled with a kind of light red gas, which looked inexplicably weird. The thing in this bubble is the exhaustion concept that pops from his body. At this time, Hemingway felt better than ever. With the concept of exhaustion popped up, the damage to his body due to gravity exercise was immediately repaired. He didn't understand the principle of this, he only knew that with the concept of exhaustion popped up, the fruit formed by this physical injury broke away from his body, and the cause that caused his physical injury disappeared naturally. This concept of exhaustion must be transmitted to other creatures, otherwise this thing will return to my own body. Hemingway looked at the concept of exhaustion in his hands and thought for a while. He stood up, full of energy, without the weakness that seemed to be hollowed out. Stepped towards the sea. When he came to the beach and stepped into the water, when his ankle touched the sea sensing ability was activated. Suddenly, the sea area of thousands of miles was in his induction. He chose a sea soul beast and activated the ability to summon the sea soul beast. A moment later, a fin suddenly appeared on the sea in the distance, and then, a big shark gradually emerged from its body and swam vigorously. In the end, she ran aground on the beach. This is a century-old shark soul beast with big fangs and ferocious eyes. But because of the martial soul of the mermaid princess, she had to stay here honestly. Hemingway walked up to the shark, holding the light red gas in his palm, and then gently pressed it into the shark's body. In an instant, the concept of exhaustion melted into it. The shark's body stiffened for a while, even the tail was raised. Was stiff for a while, then limp again. The whole shark ran aground on the beach sickly, his eyes were no longer ferocious, but rather exhausted. It seems to have experienced a brutal battle royale. Hemingway nodded with satisfaction. You reading www.yuyugonshu.com really. Just integrate the concept that pops out of the body into other creatures. Then this group of concepts will not return to oneself, otherwise once they give up manipulation, this group of concepts will return to themselves. Let's go. He waved his hand at this century-old shark soul beast and ordered it to leave here. Then turned around and left without looking back. Is really like a ruthless scumbag who throws it away after playing. At this time, the sky has gradually started to dim. Hemingway returned to the simple wooden house and lit a bonfire to keep warm. Then he sat cross-legged by the fire and closed his eyes. Started meditation. Meditation is a very energy-consuming thing and cannot replace sleep. Therefore, after about 2 hours of meditation, Hemingway woke up from the meditation state. Then he stood up and moved his hands and feet, and then walked into the wooden house to rest. The small wooden house is very simple, ventilated on all sides, and can barely cover the rain falling from the sky. As for the so-called bed, it is actually just a few wooden slats tied to the trunks around the wooden house, and rattan stalks are wrapped around it. Spread some dry grass and dead leaves, and a simple bed is formed. The conditions of the desert island have this place to sleep, which is not bad. Hemingway didn't care and fell directly on the bed. The sea blue eyes slowly closed, and the whole body gradually relaxed. A feeling of exhaustion surged into my heart, not physical exhaustion, but spiritual exhaustion. Has experienced great changes in the past few days, and it has even awakened the memories of previous lives. Even if he saw something on the surface, his spirit was already very exhausted. In my sleep, I don't think about anything. Let your mind be empty. Is undoubtedly a very good recovery behavior. The next day. The sun is rising on the sea. A ray of sunlight shone through the gap in the wooden house and hit Hemingway's eyelids, causing his eyelids to squirm, and finally slowly opened. His eyes were blue like the sea, deep and beautiful, with hazy ripples like water. Slowly got up from the simple wooden bed, stretched out his hands upwards, accompanied by the clicking sound of bones colliding. The spirit power in his body circulated his whole body. After a stretch, the body that had been dormant for the whole night has been restarted. Wash up first, then eat. Hemingway walked towards the sea, the golden beach. The tide was constantly shimmering, and the rising sun was not too hot, but it was dazzling. It made him subconsciously squint, and it took him a while to adjust to the sunlight in front of him. Step by step, the whole person slowly walked across the beach and stepped into the deep water area, and finally the whole person was submerged. Hemingway, who possesses the spirit of a mermaid, is like a natural creature in the sea. Especially after martial spirit evolves into an adult fish princess, as long as he uses martial spirit possession to transform into a mermaid, he can breathe freely in the sea and absorb the oxygen contained in it. Of course, even if he does not use the spirit possession to transform into a mermaid, he can still hold his breath in the sea for a long time. Even swimming is completely self-explanatory instinct. It's just that it's better to be a mermaid after all. I sweated out from working out last night, and he didn't have time to take a shower. Take a good wash in seawater now and take off all your clothes. Just like this, he was rubbing his body in the sea, and there were many colorful marine fish swimming by him, ignoring him. After a while, Hemingway, naked, slowly walked to the beach, holding the same scrubbed clothes in his hands, and he looked at the clothes in his hands. The ability to operate the fruit of the meatball silently, then lightly patted the clothes with his hand. All the dirt and seawater in the clothes were bounced out with this shot. Turn into a bubble. Hemingway discarded the bubbles casually, the bubbles burst out of control, and the filth and seawater inside were spilled on the ground. This thing is different from the concept, and there is no need to find a carrier. Throw it away and throw it away. He watched his hands become dry again, the new child's clothes. His eyes are very complicated. This dress was stitched one by his mother. It has a special meaning to him and he is reluctant to lose it. So he folded it carefully, and put it into the soul guide ring in his hand. Keep it as a souvenir. Then he walked naked on this deserted island, first pulling out some soft grass and vines, then weaving them with these grass and vines, and finally made a straw skirt-like thing, barely hiding his shame. Enough. After putting on this homemade straw skirt, Hemingway is naked at the moment, only wearing a straw skirt, just like an ancient savage. Is actually the second prince of the Douluo Empire and the son of the princess of the Heaven Do Empire. Hemingway certainly does not lack such things as storage rings. There are piles of gold coins in his storage rings, as well as various books on anecdotes and spiritual master training, as well as some daily changes of clothes. In short, it is absolutely inseparable from poverty. But the problem is that he is currently on a desert island. Those gold coins are useless at all. Books can be used to relieve boredom. As for the daily change of clothes, he didn't think it was of much use. On this deserted island, who are you going to wear these clothes for? What's more important is that the clothes get damaged very quickly during the exercise. In addition, as the body grows, sooner or later, the clothes will not fit. Therefore, it is better not to wear clothes, and it is enough to get a hula skirt to cover your shame. All these he learned from the TV series of Survival in the Wilderness. I have to say that this knowledge is indeed very practical. Enough for him to survive on this deserted island and avoid many detours. Went back to the wooden house. Hemingway picked up the air-dried and smoked fish, and just opened it. These fish meat is not as simple as ordinary fish meat, but the meat of sea soul beasts. There is soul power in it, and no matter how it is eaten, it is much stronger than ordinary meat. Can effectively supplement the consumption of physical exercise. After eating breakfast, Hemingway turned on the gravity bracelet to double the gravity just like yesterday. Suddenly, just like yesterday, an indescribable sense of heaviness flooded all over his body. Hemingway took a closer look, and found that the body's ability to withstand double gravity is a little better than yesterday. Although not much, there is indeed progress. Obviously, the concept of fatigue popped up, and it did not affect the effect of physical exercise. After adapting to the change of gravity on the spot, Hemingway took a step forward. Now he is under double gravity. Just walking is already very difficult. The exercise effect of the gravity bracelet is very scary. There are flesh and bones all over the body, and every place and every cell is under horrible oppression due to the change of gravity. In this state, even standing alone without moving anything is a kind of horrible exercise. He only needs to constantly adapt to gravity and ensure adequate nutrition during the period, and the body will naturally strengthen. After barely walking around the island, the time has come to noon. Today's efficiency is much higher than yesterday's, not because the body is stronger. Just because it was the first time yesterday, I didn't get used to it very much. The speed will be slower. It's time to eat. Hemingway felt that he was hungry at this time, and he immediately relieved his gravity. It was the feeling of fluttering all over again. He stepped into the sea, letting go of the sea's ability to sense. Then relying on the mermaid princess martial soul over the sea soul beast, a few moments later, several tuna soul beasts that were about 10 years old swam to the side of the island, and then honestly ran aground on the beach. Hemingway stepped forward and slapped the tuna to death with a few palms. A few white spirit rings rose. Dragged these tuna ashore, took out a knife from the storage ring, and started cooking these tuna, thrown off the viscera, fish head, cut off the fish, then just raw. The taste of tuna is extremely delicious, and it can be eaten raw. If it is really cooked, it will not taste good, and it will also lose some nutrients. After eating and drinking, he hangs up the remaining tuna on the tree. Rest for a while and digest. After that, the concept of internal fatigue pops up to restore physical fatigue. The whole person's direct state is full. Then it doubled the gravity and started walking around the island. Time passed quietly like this. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Hemingway's daily task is to turn on gravity and walk around the island to exercise. Then at night, I meditated and practiced soul power for a while, then fell asleep afterwards, and fell asleep until dawn. Gradually. Hemingway has gradually adapted to double the gravity, has changed from walking to being able to jog, and then running fast. Until fully adapted to double gravity. At this time, he began to challenge twice the gravity. Then 3 times the gravity. 4 times the gravity. 6 years later. Hemingway is 12 years old. At this time, he is already able to move freely under 5 times the gravity, and his body is stronger than 6 years ago, I don't know how much. The practice of the Navy's 6 forms has also shown initial results. At least it is no problem to use it in combat. His spirit power level is now 13. I have to say that after the upgrade of the Martial Soul upgrade card, Hemingway's talent can be described as terrifying. In the past 6 years, even if he was mainly exercising, the time for cultivating soul power is only 2 hours at night, but even so, he has become 13 souls in this mere 6 years. Just a little bit. You can break through the 40 level, and you can formally become a soul sect after absorbing the spirit ring. Of course, the reason why his spirit power can improve so fast is inseparable from his daily hard exercise for the past 6 years. After hard exercise, the body will be very hungry for energy. At this time, the efficiency of soul power cultivation will be much better than normal cultivation. Indirectly made up for the shortcomings of training time. P.S. Ask for votes, ask for collection. The new book is inseparable from your support. This day, a group of uninvited guests visited this deserted island. This is a seagoing ship about 20 to 30 meters long, and it seems to be replenishing fresh water resources on this small island. So I stopped on the beach of this small island. At the very top of this ship, a skull flag is flying. This represents the symbol of pirates in the sea. Obviously, this group of uninvited guests are pirates. There are only about 10 people in the entire ship. They are all middle-aged people in their 30s and 40s. The only difference from ordinary people is that some of these pirates lack an eye, and some have severed hands. Foot. There are only a few who are not physically damaged. Boss, there are people on this island. A wretched middle-aged man pointed to the footprints on the gravel not far away, and said strangely, "How come there are people on this broken island? It's probably someone who was in a shipwreck. Good luck is here. Go and see, maybe there is some oil to catch." The leader of the pirate was blind with one eye and a hook inlaid in his left hand with a fierce face. "Middle-aged man. You stay here and guard the boat, let's go and see." The pirate leader rushed to the people behind him and ordered, and then took a few of his men down the slide and got off the boat. Several pirates followed the footprints and began to trace the owner of the footprints. The small island is not big, and its length is only a dozen kilometers. The footprints are around the island, so several pirates quickly saw the owner of the footprints. It was a young figure from the back, who seemed to be just a teenager, with white hair scattered all over his back, exuding a dazzling luster under the sunlight. Step by step, walking forward slowly. The pace is not fast, but every step taken gives people a sense of calmness. Several pirates looked at the naked body in front of them, wearing only straw skirts, as if they were savages. Subconsciously holding his breath, I don't know why, just looking at this man's broad back, there is an illusion of not dare to presume. It seems to anger this man, terrible things will happen. At this time, the figure in front seemed to sense something. Suddenly he stopped, and then slowly turned around. The first thing that was revealed was a refined and solid body, with strands of muscles covering the body harmoniously, supplemented by the bronze-colored skin to form a full body. The majesty of strength and beauty. And above this masculine body, is a face that is extremely handsome. Sharp eyebrows, high nose, and thin lips, and extremely delicate facial features make up this face that is extremely lethal to women. People. A pair of snow-white sword eyebrows wrinkled slightly, those azure blue eyes of the sea stared at a few people, and a word was spit out from the thin lips. Hoarse and low, it seems that he hasn't spoken for a long time. Boom. Several pirates were surprised, because it was accompanied by an explosion. The sturdy figure, which was at least 10 meters apart, came to them not far away almost instantly, staring straight at these people with those blue eyes that looked like beautiful jewels. This kind of look is not unfamiliar to them as pirates, because they often look at other people with this look. Yes, this is a look at the prey. This lord. The pirate chief considered his words. He inexplicably felt that the handsome and shameless man in front of him was extremely dangerous. Even if he is a soul master himself, he is facing this man. Wuhan is warning crazy. Everywhere on his body tells him that this man is very, very, very dangerous. Are you pirates? He looked at the distinctive features of these people, frowning slightly. No, pirate. The pirate leader stammered a little. Because he felt a chill from the man in front of him. It's as if the one in front of you is not a human being, but a fierce beast that chooses people and eats. I always feel that if you admit to being a pirate, you will lose your head in the next moment. We are a passing merchant ship, come here to replenish fresh water. The pirate leader trembled, then turned to look at the men next to him and said, Right. Yes. We are businessmen. Seeing the boss's eyes, a few of his subordinates quickly followed the road. Is a pirate who puts his life on his waistband. It is conceivable that he can live to such an old age with such a low level of strength. Otherwise, I don't know how many times. It is impossible to survive this old age. Hemingway quietly watched these pirates who knew they weren't good people from the outside. He had seen and heard domineering, as early as when a few people set foot on the island. I have sensed the existence of these people before I saw myself. The emotions that these people have scattered are definitely not good intentions. Now there is only fear. Under the domineering induction of seeing and hearing, these pirates in front of them are all spirit masters, but their strength is very low. According to the fluctuating spirit power radiated, except for the leading pirate leader who is a 20-level second-level spirit master, most of the rest of his subordinates are 11th-level spirit masters. Weak. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com is simply too weak. But it happened that recently he also planned to build a ship to go to sea, but now he has a ready-made ship. That's better, it saves him a lot of effort. A pirate ship with a skull flag flying slowly on the sea. A figure stood on the bow, looking at the boundless ocean in the distance. His eyes are far-reaching, and there seems to be an infinite story in his eyes. Coupled with that slender figure, handsome and strong face, just this look, is enough to scream the ignorant girl. This person, who is not our protagonist Hemingway. Hemingway had already put on a new suit provided by the pirates on the ship, but he didn't wear it. Although this dress is not so luxurious and beautiful. But it is much better than the primitive grass skirt on the desert island. As for the clothes in his storage ring, after 6 years, they are too small for him to wear now. He was full of white hair draped behind him, and he was waist-long. The body is slender and refined, even though he is only 12 years old, he is already 1.7 meters tall. No one can imagine that Hemingway, who looks at least 17 or 18 years old, is only 12 years old in real life. But this is not surprising, it should be said that he is not an exception. In this world of spirits, spirit masters are generally relatively early mature. Because of the influence of the martial arts characteristics and the ability to strengthen the body every time the spirit ring is acquired, the result of this is that the body will be more different from ordinary people, and the growth will be faster. Hemingway is fairly normal. Some are more than 2 meters tall in their early tenths, which is nothing compared to him. In any case, in this world, a soul master cannot judge age based on appearance. Mostly, the method of Mogu age is used to determine the age. Now, after 6 years of hard training, I have some self-preservation. But it's not enough. Why don't I take the time to go to Poseidon Island to do a magic test to increase my strength? Standing on the bow of the ship, Hemingway looked into the distance. Far away, far-sighted. But I was thinking about other things in my mind. With my spirit aptitude, I can get a black level assessment, or even a red level assessment, right? He was very confident of his aptitude. As for obtaining the Poseidon 9 tests, inherit the position of Poseidon. He didn't even think about it. Because according to the original text, one thing is absolutely indispensable if you want to obtain the 9 tests of the sea god. That is the heart of Poseidon. And this so-called sea god's heart has long been out, and now it has become the treasure of the heavenly Do Imperial Family cover of Hanhaikyunkan. In such a situation, Hemingway would never be able to obtain the shield of the universe. Because this thing is a treasure of the country, where can you give it to you casually? Even if Swai, the current emperor of the Heaven Do Empire, is his mother's half-brother, and considered his uncle in terms of seniority, it is absolutely impossible for him to cover the vast sea in this way. Unless Hemingway himself possesses great strength, he is so tough that Swai has to win him over and give away the treasure of the town. Or when you encounter a crisis of national extinction, treat him as the last straw, just like Tang San in the original book. So to sum up, Hanhai Universe cover, he doesn't need delusion now. It is absolutely impossible to get. Take a step back, even if he got the shield of the universe. It may not be possible to obtain the recognition of Hanhaikyunkan, and then obtain the 9 tests of the sea god. Because first of all, I want to get the 9 tests of the sea god. It must be recognized by the sea god's heart, that is, the blessed sea universe cover, or the recognition of the sea god canyon in it. But if you want to be recognized by the vast sea, first of all your physique must be able to withstand the power of the vast sea. What is the power of the sea? To put it plainly, it is the power of Poseidon. But how can the power of the sea god be so easy to bear? The countless people who had received the shield of the Sea of Heaven before the Heaven-Do imperial family, wanted to drip their blood to recognize the Lord, but could not bear the power of the sea and died. It is a lesson from the past. Hemingway consciously realized that his current self was much worse than Tang San in the original book in all aspects. It is definitely the end of a blast and death. There is no second possibility. After all, in the original work, Tang San was able to obtain the approval of the sea god's heart. That was because the protagonist's halo had gathered many factors in his body. For example, he was pregnant with the Tang sect's supreme mastery Xian Tiangong in his previous life, and the talent of twin martial souls. There are still 100,000-year spirit ring and 100,000-year spirit bone in the body, coupled with the ice and fire 2 instrument ice to quench the body, and he has taken many plants of immortal grass to improve his aptitude. The combination of so many factors made him extremely horrible. Qualifications. But what about him? What does Hemingway have now? Except for the twin martial arts who have been upgraded by the martial arts upgrade card, only the gravity bracelet has exercised the body for 6 years. His talent is very high, but what does this have to do with whether he can bear the power of the sea? With this little capital, wanting to bear the power of Poseidon is simply wishful thinking. Hemingway felt that when he could bear 50 times the weight of gravity, he might have the strength of his body to try to recognize the Lord with a drop of blood and see if he could bear the power of Poseidon and gain the approval of the universe of the sea. Before that, even if you can get the universe cover of the sea, don't try it rashly. After all, there is only one fate. The main task of the system is to make me the only true king in the Douluo world. This refers to the world, not a simple continent. It also means that the sea is also within the scope of conquest. In that case, I will start with the sea began to recruit its subordinates and form forces. When the wings are full, they will return to the mainland. Hemingway's eyes flashed, thinking about his future plans. And speaking of forming forces, his confidence has been stronger than ever since he obtained the fruit of the flesh ball. Because Hemingway turned his head slightly and looked at several pirates who were watching the direction not far behind him, silently operating the ability of the fruit of the flesh ball. Suddenly these people became a cluster of colorful colors in his eyes. Wuhan. He read a silent sentence in his heart, followed by a certain feeling in the dark, leading him to find the color that belongs to Wuhan among the complex colors of the human body. Hemingway had an intuition that he could use the ability of fleshy balls. Pop other people's martial arts spirits and transplant them to other people. Artificially create twin martial arts. And the effect of this ability is more than that. If someone is not satisfied with his martial soul, he can also use the flesh ball fruit to eject his martial soul, looking for a better one to replace it. That is to say, just think. Hemingway can artificially create all kinds of geniuses at any time, not to mention twin martial souls. It is 3 lives martial souls, 4 martial souls can be. There are as many martial arts as you want. The premise is that you will not be killed because of the martial soul conflict. And even things like innate soul power can be transplanted. Man-made innate soul-powered genius. How terrifying! With this ability, forming a power is simply too simple. What is the most important thing because of a power? Resource? Money? No, although these 2 things are also very important, they are not the most important. Talent. For a power, talent is the most important. But now, because he has the ability of the flesh ball and fruit, he can use this ability to artificially create genius. What a foul thing is this! Once I let others know that Hemingway has this ability, I am afraid that he will be greeted by a group attack. Everyone will come to deal with him. Because this ability is too terrifying in this world. It can be said that as long as Hemingway can survive and grow up silently, sooner or later, you can become the master of the world. In order to form a power, you must first recruit your subordinates. Hemingway shook his head slightly as he looked at the pirates. These pirates knew at a glance that they were cunning, and in the sense of his domineering look, his soul was even more vicious and vicious. Something like this without loyalty is definitely not a good candidate for his subordinates. Even if he has decided to become Sea King first, he doesn't collect all rubbish. After possessing the ability of the fruit of the flesh ball, Hemingway will recruit his men in the future. Talent is no longer a necessary condition. The most important thing for UU reading www.uukonshu.com must be morality and loyalty. After all, even if the talent is not good, he can still use the meatball fruit ability to replace it, but if the character is not good and the loyalty is not enough, even if he has the meatball fruit, it is useless. On the contrary, it may hurt itself. Let these subordinates cause great trouble to themselves. Once before his feathered wings, the ability of the flesh ball fruit leaked out, then the world is so big that there is absolutely no place for him. So if you want to recruit your subordinates, it's better to be some stray orphans, because this kind of people are young and have little mind to cultivate. The orphan's bumpy life experience is not even the slightest entanglement. He knows the hard-won happiness of life now, is loyal to him, his benefactor, and can serve him wholeheartedly. My current experience is domineering, although I cannot read my mind and predict the future. However, I can sense the changes in the mind and emotions of others, and be able to distinguish between good and evil. This ability is simply born to screen loyal subordinates. Born. Hemingway was a little surprised when he counted the few abilities he had now. He found that the rewards of the System Novice package seemed to be exactly what he needed to achieve his goal. It's so sweet. So, the top priority now is not to go to Poseidon Island to gain strength. It is to find an inhabited island. Then adopt some orphans there and start to cultivate his own power, slowly develop and grow. Hemingway began to imagine. For my bright future, the more I think about it, the more I feel that I can't lose at all. Once he has passed the developmental period, he will lead a bunch of twin martial souls and sweep the world as soon as he appears. Who can stop him in this world? Who else? Just ask who else. The itinerary on the sea is not smooth, and the hull is always bumping and shaking. Although the amplitude is sometimes not large, it makes Hemingway, who rarely takes a boat, feel quite uncomfortable. But fortunately, his physical strength allowed him to calmly ignore these slight discomforts. There will be no strange incidents such as seasickness and vomiting. In the blink of an eye, they have been sailing on the sea for 3 days. In these 3 days, Hemingway did not exercise gravity as he did on a desert island. Most of the time, he stayed in his cabin to cultivate his soul power. After all, it is very dangerous in this ocean, and it is very important to preserve your physical strength. In addition, there is no large amount of meat on this boat, which can supplement him with the nutrients he needs for exercise. So I put off exercise. It's not too late to continue exercising until you reach your destination. As for the pirates on the ship, they treated him as if they were an uncle. He didn't dare to have the heart to resist, because as early as 3 days ago when he boarded the ship, Hemingway told these pirates with absolute strength that resisting, really would die. After, he requisitioned the ship. Let these pirates lead the way and take themselves to the nearest inhabited island. He intends to be there and start his own path to the king. Under the threat of their lives, these pirates dare not even think at all. Honestly, sailing to lead the way, these days are also delicious for this master, because they are really frightened by Hemingway's strong force and the color configuration of the spirit ring that subverts common sense. A man who can be a pirate in the sea and still alive to this age. No one is a fool. Naturally, he knows what it means to avoid bad luck, and he who knows the current affairs is a good man. My lord, according to this itinerary, you will be able to reach the nearest island in 7 days. The pirate leader who personally came to deliver the meal put down the dinner plate, bowed his knees, and said flatly to the white-haired young man sitting cross-legged with closed eyes, "That island has a large population, and there are often past merchant ships parked there. It is a very famous island in the sea. It absolutely meets your requirements, my lord. Understood. The white-haired boy slowly opened his sea blue eyes. Without looking at him, he picked up the tableware and started to eat. As for the attitude of ignoring the young man, the pirate leader, although he was a little angry, did not dare to show it on the surface. Instead, he stooped back slowly until he exited the cabin. Closed the door gently. The pirate chief only breathed a long sigh of relief, not knowing why. Every time he faced this young boy who seemed to be young, he always had a kind of fright. It seemed that the next moment he would lose his head. What's more important is that every time the boy's eyes glanced over, he always had the illusion that his heart was completely seen through. It is precisely because of this illusion that he seems to be seen through, that makes him afraid to have the slightest crooked mind. The pirate chief just wanted to rush the uncle to the nearest island, and then drove the boat, fleeing as far as possible. He didn't want to meet this evil star again in his life. 7 days. You can get rid of this evil star in 7 days. In the cabin, Hemingway put down the tableware after eating, waiting for someone to take it away later. Then he walked back to the bed and sat cross-legged, and began to meditate and practice. Apart from cultivating in this place, there is nothing else to do. Just after a while, a noisy sound came from outside the cabin. Immediately after a bang, the whole ship began to shake violently. What's the matter? Could it be an attack by a sea soul beast? Hemingway immediately awakened from the meditation, and subconsciously released the domineering sight and color, and his invisible perception spread in all directions like a radar, easily breaking through the cabin, revealing what happened outside the cabin, even in his perception. When he saw what was happening outside, his brows wrinkled in an instant. Outside the cabin, a large steel ship tens of meters long and more than 10 meters wide slammed into the pirate ship, swaying the wooden boat that was only 20 to 30 meters long. On this 10-meter-long steel ship, a skull flag is also hung at the top. The only difference is that a poisonous snake surrounds the skull. Obviously, this is a sign that distinguishes different pirates. Regardless of its shape or material, this large steel ship with a length of tens of meters is far beyond the comparison of a small wooden pirate ship. This ship with a Viper pirate flag is a famous pirate group nearby the Viper pirate group. At this time, the pirate chief looked at the pirate flag on the big ship, and his whole body was about to cry. What kind of luck is this, as soon as I can get rid of the evil star inside? It was a coincidence that I ran into this group of lunatics. Viper Pirate Group is a very notorious pirate group, often looting passing merchant ships, and even like to eat black. If you encounter a pirate ship, you also have to looting. It's just a bunch of lunatics. Big, sir, we are too poor for the past 2 days. There is really no oil and water to fish. The pirate chief begged for mercy without tears. I saw only the big boat opposite. Is headed by an old man, and the rest are middle-aged and young people. It can be said that there are both young and old. The headed old man is skinny, but looking at the 5 white, yellow, and purple spirit rings floating around his body, one can know that he is definitely not as weak as it seems on the surface. Soul King. This is the Soul King. The pirate leader felt that he had never been so unlucky. I heard that the Viper pirate group did not blink. Any pirate group that was looted never had a chance to survive. It seems that they are not lucky enough today. Hey! Another group of poor ghosts. The old man hadn't spoken yet. A young man next to him looked at the desolate appearance of the pirate chiefs. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com suddenly curled his lips in disdain. At this time, the door of the cabin slowly opened. A plain white-haired boy walked out slowly, attracting the attention of everyone present. The pirate chief and the others are first suddenly, thinking that there is still such a character. Then he was ecstatic and felt that he was saved. The Viper pirate group headed by the old man was full of dignified faces, and stared at the young boy who came out of the cabin and looked young. Be careful. This young man is not easy. The old man stared at Hemingway, who walked out of the cabin, and his instincts about the sea for many years told him. This boy is definitely not an ordinary person. The rest of the people also had serious faces, and they didn't dare to look down upon Hemingway because he was young. Because there is a kind of person in this world who seems to be born with the word strong on his face. You only need to see that face to know that this person is definitely not easy to mess with. Unfortunately, Hemingway seems to be such a person. It is clear that his appearance is not ugly, nor is he ferocious enough to stop children from crying at night. Not to mention the delicate and sturdy face that the Shuangwan male protagonist comes standard with, just the kind of handsome man that the public likes. At best, he has a better figure, but for some reason, he seems to have a special temperament in him. If you insist, it should be an aura belonging to the strong. It is worth mentioning that even though Hemingway looked exquisite and cute when he was young, he was indistinguishable from male and female. But as 6 years have passed, the body's bones have gradually grown, coupled with the 6 years of hard work on the desert island day and night. He is now completely reborn. He has long since lost his delicate and harmless appearance when he was a child. The skin is bronzed, the muscles are tight, and everything is full of masculinity. It is completely different from that kind of feminine sissy.